particular session of this video. In this video, what we are basically going to look at is how to actually display information on our you can see on our template. Let me click from about page. Let's focus more on this of the home his.html. This is where our home template is. So what we are going to learn is actually how to actually on our screen, also on our front end, because most of the times the information you have might not be currently enough, so you need to actually get information from some particular website. So when you get that information, you need to actually let it display on the screen. To actually do that, we are going to make use of a simple example to actually do that. Let's say I made an API call and I have information. Let's say I created maybe a variable and I gave it info. So the information, most of the time, when information you are going to get is going to be really long, and it's going to be an API kind of output. So it's going to be kind of a dictionary. So let's say the first information you got, remember this is a list, so it's going to be a bunch of information. So this signifies that this particular is going to hold a particular information for maybe for a particular user of a particular data. So let's say in a situation where we have maybe a API call of a particular data, I have something like maybe ID, and then the ID maybe is one tax. There's a tax. I have something like eat. Okay, sorry, this is the string. I'm going to say eat food. Let's say just like an example, and then the next we're going to say, you can say date. I can say date that the content was actually added. So it's going to, let's say I specify something somewhere around maybe 12 January, let's say 2022, or let's say 2025. So this signifies, they can say this is a particular information for a particular, you can say this is a particular information. This is what I want us to do, like, because this is actually our target, something that looks like this is an ID task, date added. I'm also going to add other action, but let's not focus more on that. So we can see that with this information we got when we made an API call. Let me actually make this maybe something like 3 or so. So I'm going to paste another one. So I'm going to go down, paste another one. Make sure you put your commas. So simple as that. So this signifies, let's say I put, let that be the same thing, because when you store information in database, the ID is not going to be the same thing. So I'm going to put 2 here. I'm going to put 3 here. So I can say eat food 2. I can say eat food 3. So I can say date added. I can say maybe something like 20th January 2025. So I can say maybe something like maybe 8. I can say something like February. I can let me call here June. Or I can say July, any one of your choice. So this is just the information you have at hand, and this information you got from a data. Remember that our server is currently running. For enter running in the default, it's actually in the debug mode, so you don't need to actually worry much about that. So what we are going to do, we need to actually move this our information. Remember that this information is stored inside the variable info, and this is the list that is holding our information. This signifies maybe a container for a particular information. You can see another container and that container. Inside of that of container, how what is called ID task eat food. I can say eat food 1, and say ID 2. This is eat food 2. Remember that the ID, since it's a number, you don't need to actually put in a string format. The Django is going to handle this kind of information for us. So how do we actually move this information to our home.html? Because I run this of the server, when I run it again, we're not getting that information available. So when I run this, we load our page, we're not getting that information. So to do this, we're going to make use of what is actually called context. So let me just call this a URL as of now. So when I go to this of my home function, so let's say I want to create something like content. There are so many ways to do that. We can actually try to actually specify directly inside it. So I can come here and say context. You can see the parameter you can actually specify. So I'm going to put a dictionary. This is a kind of a dictionary. So I'm going to say what our this name I want to give it as. Remember, you can give it any name of your choice. What do I want to give the task? Going to info. This is more like a dictionary. If you have not watched my video on dictionary, make sure to check it out. This signifies that this is the key, and this is not confusing to understand. Context tags is going to be info. You can decide to specify somewhere here. can start to copy it over here on top here, and then here I'm going to say what context is, you can say equals what our context, simple as that. There's no really much magic here to actually do here. So like I say, let me look at this one more time. You can see this is our info, is holding this of the information that we have available, and here we want to just create this context is like a parameter. We need to specify that of the data. So this is why we gave you this of the key, and this is the value, because when we start accessing this of the HTML, we are going to actually make use of this key to actually do that. So to actually do that in that of our, because right now what we actually did, we actually moved it to our this of our home.html, but it's not yet available there. You can see it's not yet available, it or not still getting it. To do that, since they are kind of a list, this is a list type of format, so to do that we actually need to actually loop through each of them. So when we loop it, this signifies that this is index 1, index 2, and index 3. So if I'm not watching my video on list, I made it really simple for us to actually understand this. To for loops, because we're going to make use of for loops. The way for loops actually works in this of the way for loops actually work in Django is a little bit different, but there's not really much there's not really more different. No, now most of the case we can say, let's say for s in what, maybe for s in what our tax. So this is basically how we're going to write it, but Django tends to make use of some other kind of tags, like a whole lot, some other things that actually comes with it. So to do that, we're going to put this of our anchor tag. We're going to signify this our percentage, 2 of it. We're going to say, let's say we want to say for our tags, okay, let's put this, let's put x here so we won't get everything mixed up. So we're going to say for our tags in what, tags. So it's just like saying for x in range particular, I can say for s in a particular list of elements. This tags is this key that we specify there, and this key holds this data info, and this is of our info information, which is this hold by this variable. Hope it's not hard to understand. This task is just a variable we specify. So I can set to give it x, but it's always a good idea when you are creating your variable, let it make sense in so you don't get confusion. And when you are writing a kind of a command in Django, the little you need to add a situation where I write maybe kind of a looping, you need to actually end out of the loop. To do that, we are going to make use of this of the dictionary braces. I'm going to do what this with this of the percent sign. I'm going to do what I'm going to say n4. This signifies that I want to end this of our for loop. So we are going to get the information that we need. If we are going to shut down this thing, and then we are going to see the error that we are going to get. So we can start to implement for what do we want to actually get. So I would always like to actually make it to be kind of indented. It's your choice if you are interested in making it in this way. So we are going to tab it a little bit so you know that actually going through a loop. Make sure that this m4 is in the same line with this for loop. So next we are going to do to actually get the variables from that of the for loop. We are going to make use of double we can say dictionary braces. So to do that, we are going to, let's say you want to be in h1 tag, the first one. So we are going to say our 2 dictionary tag braces. So we can actually specify what the output that I want to get. So we are going to say this tag, because this tag is not going to hold the information that is. So we are going to say from the tags want to for tags in that of the tag. So we are going to say tags. When we say tags.id, let's look at it. When we say tags.id, just like saying tags.id is going to get 1, 2, 3. Let's actually do that. So we can actually run it and see what to actually mean by it. So I'm going to say tags dot what id. So let's actually say I want to actually get for that of for the other ones. I'm going to say v. So the next one to get them tags dot tags. Make sure they are all the same. And next one to say is the actual date that was being added. So I also want to change this to something like maybe content. Let's leave it tags dot tags. So what actually happened? Let me explain a little bit more. So we say for tags and tags. So this tags is left like this key that we specified here. this key that we specify there. Since it's holding this information, and this information that is holding is list, so we can actually loop it. We can actually loop through. So I know what my video on for loop, make sure to check it out. So, and this information that is going to hold, as if we are trying to specify info here. So for that of the information and that of the info, which is this our info guy, which is this guy. So we need to actually get a particular content of our child. We want to send that of the ID, the tags, and then the date that was being added. This is not really hard to understand. Just wrap your head around it. You are going to get it really quickly. So we are going to make sure to end your for loop. So I think that should be it. Let's go back to our server. Make sure that let's go back to our so make sure that your server is still running. So let's reload our page. You can see we get this kind of ID. You can see eat food, which is ID eat food 1. You can see this is it added, this is ID 2, this is the tags, and this is the date added, like how we did here. So we can just try to specify you can say ID, and we can see tags, and we can specify date. So to actually make this things a little bit fun, let's actually after it, so to look a little bit better. So let's go back and run this. You can see ID equals to 1, ID 2, and that of the ID 3. You can actually add to break lines and a whole lot of other things, but that's not what we came for. So you can see how simple it was to actually move information from our views.py, and then we can actually move into our home.html. So with the out us to look at this video before I will try to create a table to make this beautiful for it to look something like this. So I'm going to actually get an icon. The icon is available on my GitHub, so in case you're interested. So how simple it was to actually move information from our views.py. Let's assume that this information we get from an API, how we can actually move it from our views to our home.html and right on our HTML page, and this is the result we're able to get. This is not really hard, like as we can see here. So the next we are going to do is actually beautify this of our home.html. So that's basically what we are going to do, because when we look at this of our target page, what were our final project, you can see that it's being structured. This is more like a table. You can see this is the ID, and this is the task, and going to be date added, and this is the action that is going to be performed. So I'm going to pause this video and then do for all these guys. I'm not going to change pretty anything much. So when I'm done, I'm going to come back and display some other content that I need to the video to add some content on it. So this files is going to, or this content is going to be on my GitHub page. The link to my GitHub page is going to be in the description down below in case if you're interested. So what I did here was actually I created a div, and then I gave it a class. I named it container, and then I created the h1 tag class, going to be page, going to be title, and I gave it a test of task manager, and I put this icon on it. So and also created a table. I gave it a class table. The reason why I'm giving it all this class is for me to be able to style it a little bit better next. So I didn't change actually anything. It's going to be for our tasks and tags. So we're going to do our table, and this is our table data, and this is our table data. We're going to have this task ID, I'm going to have task content, I'm going to have task date, and then I also added something here. This is also part of the table data, and also to have this of our anchor tag, which is our, I can say, a link that's going to, as of now, is a dead link is not going anywhere. I gave it a class btn delete btn update. So that's all basically what I just paused the video to. There's nothing really much here to actually explain. If you are still new to HTML, this is not really hard for you to understand. It's just basically simple to understand. So when I go to my my website, and then I run this, so I should get this kind of output. I can see that it's not looking the best. It's not looking like our target, which is looking at this guy. So the next we are going to do is actually to use our CSS to style it. I wanted us to create a CSS file separately, but I think we are going to come to this of our head to actually style it a little bit. So I'm also going to pause the video. I'm going to type it all out, and I'm going to explain what I actually did here. Then I'm going to explain a whole lot of other things before we can wrap up. Make use of the inline style, and this was actually the style I did. This does signify that I want to style a particular class. So the first thing I did was just to style the body, which I said the font family to be Arial and sans serif. I got to change the background color just to be a little bit light, and margin to be 0, padding 0. So this container I styled here was just the module. This container signifies the entire container that is going to hold this of our div class, and this of the div class is going to contain this of the HTML tag. This is going to be class page title, and the task is going to be task manager, which is the text that I just wrote. And also here we also specify that table I say table, this is table content, this is table, and this is the table head, which is the head is going to be that of the ID, task, date added, and action, and something else with the table head. This is fine, that's going to table head close, and this is going to be table body. If you are new to HTML, this is not really hard. This is just basic HTML that we're actually applying here. So next we actually did was create a for loop. This we say task.id, task.content. Meanwhile we didn't have anything, so let's just change this to content, because I wanted to do it earlier, but I just left it for understanding sake. So content, simple as that, so we get an issue. So task.content date, and then I will create you can say a button class. Button is going to be delete, is going to, as of now, is not doing any, it is not going to go anywhere. So I think with this our website is going to look a little bit better. Here where we added the task and table is the class we gave to this tax table, so we can actually beautify this table, and a whole lot of other things that this of the button update is going to be text decoration, non-padding 6 by 12, and then border radius 5, and font size. There's nothing really much here to actually do. So let's go back to our website, and then let's run. This is what we actually have before, so let's actually hit the run button. You can see we get something that actually look good. So if we click on this guy, they are not actually going anywhere as of now. So I'm going to actually add some other links to it. When we click on it, let it go to a particular of our choice. You can see how this simple is. So if you are interested in of the code, is going to be on my GitHub. The link to my GitHub is going to be on the description down below, in case if you're interested. So I think with this I've done a whole lot of things. I've done really whole lot of things. Actually, I wanted us to add this of the input to actually make it complete. So let's actually add it. To add the input is basically simple. To do that, I'm going to create what is actually a form. So to create a form is basically simple. We can come here to create the form, but as of now we have not actually done anything concerning that of database. We want to actually create the form by our models, which is our model of P1, and then we're going to import the form and make use of it. So we actually create a default form that we can grab information and set it to that of our model, and then we're going to initialize our database. So you know that the next chapter of the video will be working with that of the database, because as of now I have not interacted with data. Anything concerning website, you must be dealing with database. So I think with this we have come to end on this video. If there's any way you find this video useful, subscribing is not going to be a problem. So I'll be happy to see you in the next video. Thank you for watching.